Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another one of devCodeCamp's podcast episode. My name is Carl Peterson, devCodeCamp's social media producer, and thanks so much for being here. Hey, real quick, we are on probably most likely your favorite podcast platform. Type in devCodeCamp, you can find the audio version more than likely, and then same with YouTube. Go to our YouTube, you can watch this full video, and our blog. We also have cool write-ups and the audio and the video, so it's kind of your one-stop shop. That's blog.devcodecamp.com, or just go to devcodecamp.com and you can find it there too. And if you have seen one of our past episodes, if you're coming back, we're about 20 episodes in already on the podcast and alumni spotlight. Then you know that these two people today have been in one of our episodes before, and I am so excited that you both liked me enough to take time out of your very busy day and week to do this. But for those that did not catch that first episode, let's kind of reintroduce everybody, and we'll go from there. So, without further ado, what is your name, and when did you? When did you start at devCodeCamp? That's an interesting question. First off.
Wow, these are difficult questions, but I think I can answer this one. My name is Paul Jirovetz. I am a senior business relations specialist at devCodeCamp, and I have been here from day one, so over 7 years ago.
Yep, and my name is Lauren Daly, and I think that because Paul's the senior, I would be the junior business relationship development person, and I'm actually coming up on my 1-year anniversary with devCodeCamp.
I would say you're not a junior, you are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And I would say the same. Thank you both for being here. I was going to ask, originally, I meant to ask in that first question, what is your name and what do you do at devCodeCamp? But it came out, when did you start devCodeCamp? So I'm glad that we rolled with it because you guys answered both questions in that, or all three questions in that answer. So working with real professionals here today, folks. So thanks for being here. So Paul, for those who are not aware from a high level, what is career services?
So career services is the next iteration of this transformation from many different backgrounds into developer, into, okay, now that I'm a developer, what do I do next? How do I tell my story? How do I stay engaged? How do I update my LinkedIn? How do I present myself? Writing the resume, the LinkedIn profiles, our profiles on our talent portal. What do I do next? And Lauren and myself are the people that are going to be guiding you through that process. And it sounds like an easy process, but it's not. And we don't want you to be left out on an island where you don't know what to do next. What should I say? What should I do? How should I follow up? We're here to make sure that you understand that we've had hundreds and hundreds of people be in the situation that you're in right now, become successful. So hear us out and follow our process because we've been there before.
That's great. Thank you so much. And Lauren, by the time that these graduates reach you guys, how prepared are they to launch their careers, not only in skills, but also just in enthusiasm?
Yeah, this is a great question. So ideally, they are super well prepared, right? Our goal at devCodeCamp on the instruction side is for sure to provide them with optimal opportunities to build projects, to practice their skills, to learn, and especially to learn how to learn, so that it's not just that they're memorizing these certain technologies that we had a chance to teach them, but that they learn how to pick up new technologies, how to read documentation, how to make themselves really useful for when they slide into that first development job. So we hope that they come out really prepared, but really really the reality is it's up to each student. Every student is different and has different life circumstances. So sometimes we get people that come out and they aced everything and they're really ready. They get picked up pretty quickly by companies. And sometimes we get students who finish who barely finished, and they, had life circumstances happen, but they persevered and they had grit and they pulled through. And so they get finished and they realize, okay, in addition to learning the career services side of things, I also need to be working really hard to plug some gaps that I may have had from my time because I just wasn't able to dedicate as much time to it. So the opportunity to come out super ready is there, but whether or not someone's able to take advantage of it is a little more up to their life circumstance sometimes.
Yeah,
Sure.
and companies are looking for everything. But unfortunately, that is not the reality of this. You cannot possibly know everything about everything. And just when you think you do, it's technology. Guess what? It's changed.
Sure, sure. Lauren, Paul mentioned a little bit of these answers, and also for what I'm about to say, Paul mentioned, but before we get there, I just wanted to say, it could be one of the greatest developers of the century, and that always does it. That's usually not always enough. The job market is incredibly hard right now. So the job market in general, and them landing that job, no matter how prepared they might be, the job market is obviously another mountain to climb in a lot of circumstances. What are some ways, and this is what Paul kind of mentioned in what career services does, but from your perspective, what are some ways that career services kind of help these graduates shine the most that they can to break through during this tough market?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that we've really been focusing on since the whole tech bubble popped and we've had this, really extra tough market in the last few months is honing in on people's narrative. So everybody has a narrative, a life story, how they got to where they are. And I think most of the time we ourselves look at our own narrative and we spend a lot of time judging ourselves and thinking, what a terrible story. I don't know what I want to do with my life, or I've gone through all these different careers, or I'm changing careers at this older age where I should be established. There's just a lot of, judgment against ourselves. And it takes someone with an outside perspective to come in and say, okay, tell me your story, and let them actually describe what they've done with their life. And then at the end, saying back to them, you've done so many cool things, so many things that have given you transferable skills. Let's talk about how we can put that in a resume and how we can present that on LinkedIn, because that's really what people want to know. Paul says all the time, people hire people. And so we're trying to, in a large way, get people to synthesize their narrative and be able to clearly articulate, this is where I was, this is what I went through, and now this is where I'm going, and am I a fit for your company? So I think a really big thing is helping people see their own accomplishments and be excited about their narrative and ready to present that to companies.
That's great. And people hire people is very true, and also a great transition into this question. Paul, obviously the graduates are excited and ready, but what exactly are the benefits of hiring a bootcamp graduate from a company's perspective?
So companies are, I mean, no matter what industry you're in, you are looking for people who are of a growth mindset. The company is of a growth mindset. You don't want to try to convince people to learn new things. The most important thing, and we instill this in our students from day one, you are not just a developer, you're a problem solver. So the company's going to be coming to you saying, here's the issue at hand. How are you going to fix this? So you get together and you collaborate and you talk about it, you have ideas, and the worst thing you could have is somebody who is just not interested in that. And it was like saying, well, just tell me what to code. That's not what we do at all. We have people who want to contribute. And I don't think there's any company out there that will say, no, we're good. We don't want contributors. We want followers. Ultimately, it comes down to this. They are much better prepared for the real world because they're learning like actual relevant skills. They have been put into the fire. So the real world slows down a little bit for them, which is a good thing if you're the company. They're hungry. We're always telling them it doesn't stop with us. Are you doing other things? Are you learning new technologies? Are you learning um, uh, new frameworks? And we're always instilling that in them, because if you don't, it's a very short journey. You know, what's great today is not going to be great 2 years from now. So the company gets a person who can accelerate what they know very, very quickly. They're passionate about it. It means something to them. We always try to steer them in the right direction, like, focusing in on, it's not just about being a software developer. We look at their background, we look at, what's important to them, and we say, hey, find something that's important to you that maybe your background might lean right into this type of industry. And you're not just a developer, you're a developer that understands why you're coding what you're coding. And that will override somebody who's got, 1 or 2 years of experience. Well, what does that really mean? 1 to 2 years of experience doing what? The same thing over and over and over again? Or does that mean I've been working for a year, but here's what I've been doing outside of my work to improve myself?
Sure. So, Paul, do you think that I mean, from that answer, it sounds like a definite yes, but in your own words, do you think there's this kind of long-term value in employers kind of switching up their current infrastructure to hire and appropriately change these junior developers?
I do. I think all of us know software developers make a very good living, especially if you've been out in the market for a number of years. There's only so many companies that can afford to pay somebody 150, 120, $160,000 a year. Well, if you've got nothing but seniors on your team, it becomes a problem. You want to make sure that you've got your farm system in place. And that includes making sure that you find somebody who has the drive, the desire, the passion, and the willingness to learn, and partnering them up with that person who's been around the block, who's seen all these things that person hasn't necessarily seen, and take some of that pressure off of your senior devs. And they're looking for people who can think, not just follow directions. We encourage our students every day. And as we progress through the program, we're peeling ourselves further and further and further away. It's not, hey, this doesn't work, instructor A, what do I do? And instructor says, well, type this, type this, type this, and it's fixed. No. It's like, I'm going to give you a little bit of direction. Now go figure it out. So companies are trying to find this I guess it's a process of making sure that they've got that senior level leadership, but also making sure that they're bringing along these juniors as they go, and making sure that they've got that security in talent, because we all know every industry, every company, they're looking for developers. So don't be the one that's out there going, hey, we've got these 3 really great devs and they do everything, and all of a sudden, boom, they're gone.
Sure. Thank you for that insight. I figured as much that you would agree, because it would have been very awkward for one if you were like, no, I don't think there's any value in it.
No,
But no, thank you very much for that insight. And Lauren, based off kind of that same scenario, who are the actual, I'm using the word winners here. Who are the winners in that situation when it comes to not only the infrastructure changing, but also a company hiring these developers fresh out of a boot camp?
Yeah, I would definitely venture to say that everybody wins in that situation, right? Because the company is winning, they're setting up the appropriate infrastructure to raise up their own devs. If they do a really good job and they have this kind of system of, okay, first you hit these markers and then we give you a pay increase and then you get promoted, and they have this trajectory that people can follow. That's something that a lot of people are looking for, especially this new generation. I mean, they're really big on understanding, if I'm going to start with your company, it's because I believe in the mission and I believe in where I'm going and my ability to develop as a programmer. And so when you lay that out really clearly, I think that's very attractive, and it's also good for the company. So the junior devs get their first job, they get that mentorship that they need, they get that help kind of onboarding, figuring out how the real world works in tech and how they can expect to answer or place tickets, and kind of just all these different functions of being an everyday programmer. And then the company gets this, a lot of times, loyalty from people who they brought on, they took a chance on, they put into their system, they raised up in the way that they would want to see them raised up, and then they are happy to continue progressing with the company, rather than this high turnover that you see in companies where there isn't infrastructure and they are bringing in junior devs, because then they come in, they don't necessarily, they're not where they need to be, but no one's there to help bring them up to where they need to be. So yeah, I think when companies develop a good system and they're willing to hire junior devs, everybody wins.
Thank you, Lauren. Paul, when, obviously every single person has a story and a background in some sort, professionally and personally. Um, have you seen that this actually creates and molds more value to graduates, to what they kind of bring to the table regarding the soft skills?
For sure. I mean, for every company, whether you're a service company or whatever, it comes down to this: are your clients happy? Software developers are not behind the scenes people anymore. They are out on the front lines. They're trying to understand the needs of not only your company, but they're trying to understand the needs of your clients. You want to be able to put a person out on the front lines that can ask those questions that really help them understand, what are we trying to accomplish here? And also have somebody who understands how the real world works. It's not just, we'll get back to you and write some code. It's, explain to me what you're looking for. We have people with all sorts of different backgrounds, and they understand how this process works. This is not their first rodeo. So they're able to ask very good probing questions. And they're also in a situation where they understand how to talk to somebody who doesn't know code. They're looking at this going, look, my company needs X, Y, and Z. If you're speaking a whole different language that I don't understand, and if I'm the business owner, I'm checking out, just going, I don't think these people understand what we're trying to accomplish. So we get a good balance of that. Like, if you don't understand the terms and the technologies, that's okay. We create a person who's able to step back and understand you don't know that, and we're going to rephrase it and explain it how we're going to do it. And that's hard to get from somebody who is, fresh out of college, because all they know is college.
Got it. Thank you, Paul. And Lauren, when it comes to the actual hard skills that, the actual day-to-day work side of things that the developers and the graduates are doing, how well are you seeing them fit into these existing teams that potentially have been around for years and years and years?
Yeah, it's actually really awesome that we are recording this right now, because just this morning we had one of our graduates Slack message us, which happens actually pretty frequently. They'll check in and say either I, love my new job, I'm doing well, or my other favorite thing they'll do a lot is, hey, we're hiring here, I'd love to bring somebody else on from devCodeCamp. So these are things that tell us that we're doing a good job, because obviously if they're going to come back and talk to us and want to bring more people on, they liked their experience and they're doing well in their actual job. So that's good. But just this morning, Zach, one of our grads, undergrads reached out to say, I had a kick butt week, basically, is I'll rephrase what he said. But, he basically said, I did all these things. I was able to, accomplish all these things for the company, a bunch of firsts in this week. I outperformed this other person that I work with, kind of thing. So yeah, I think they come out really ready, especially the ones like Paul was talking about that are hungry, that really want to learn new things, that never stop that journey. They seem to fit in really well to existing teams and have the skills needed to really make an impact.
That's really exciting. Paul, in your opinion, this is kind of a big question with lots of answers, but overall, what's the reason our students are successful long term, do you think?
Well, I think it starts with the fact that technology has been growing so rapidly. It's not learning about the history of it. Companies are looking for people who know what's important today. And they also recognize that what's important today might not be important 6 months from now. So although, this always gets me, I'll see a posting for a job, like looking for somebody with 1 to 2 years of experience. And my first question to that company is, what does that mean? And I've never gotten a good answer. They're like, gosh, I don't really know. Well, let's break it down. What's important to you is you want people who are passionate about what they do. You want people who are not afraid to continue to learn. Instead of asking, how much experience do you have with SQL? Ask a question like, when you weren't in the devCodeCamp immersive or flex or whatever it is, were you doing other things on the side? Yeah, I was. Why were you doing that? Because I love doing this type of stuff. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? You could work for a company for 3 years and still know nothing. What you're looking for are people that are, they're, again, I'll say it again, the growth mindset. And it's not about your education. It's about what you did to get your baseline and where you're going to go from there. Ultimately, that's up to the person. We are here to take you from 0 to 100, and you're going to consume a lot of information and you're going to be very capable, but it doesn't end there. That's why our graduates are successful, because they know it's more than just, a degree I put on my resume, or, I've worked at this company for, 2 years. No, I want to know deep down inside, what are you capable of? And at this point, how fast can we get you to here? Our graduates will go faster than anybody. Now, I can't guarantee that, it's up to them, but you get what I'm saying.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Paul. So at the end of these courses that the graduates take within devCodeCamp is the Capstone Project, which is obviously the monumental end all of projects, where literally they take all of their weeks of knowledge and combine it and really get to show, a lot of times for the first time, to themselves and to the instructors who they are as a developer, and they get to see everything and make it come to life. Lauren, how important is the Capstone Project in the job search? How important of that is that as a tool?
Oh yeah, it's critically important. So Paul and I will often go visit the classes as they're about to enter that 10-day sprint where they create their capstone project, just to give them a little pep talk and say, listen, in case you're tired and you were, planning on slacking off a little bit here and kind of doing the bare minimum, don't do that, because this is what you're going to give to companies to prove that you can be a valuable part of their dev team. So you really need to showcase your skill here, go all out, do everything you can to make both the front end and the back end amazing, good functionality, good aesthetics, really put your all into it. And it really impresses companies what these students are able to do. When you think about the program being, typically 12 to 14 weeks, And the fact that most of them are coming in with zero coding experience at all, and they're coming out of it able to build these functionally sufficient apps that are doing various things is really impressive. And to look at their first project and then look at their capstone and the growth in between those two projects, I think it's amazing. I am very adamant that they add all of their projects to LinkedIn as, you know, a project in the project section, just so that employers can go back and see where they started and then see where they are now. Because I think the narrative there is, if I can have this much growth, display this much growth in this short amount of time, imagine what I can do if you give me this opportunity at your company. So it's really cool to see that. The other really great thing about the capstone is it gives them a chance to be a person and to show a little bit of their personality, because they're picking a topic, hopefully, that's close to their heart in some way, and they're explaining that as they, you know, walk through the functionality of the project. So again, Zach's on my mind because we just talked to him this morning about how great he's doing, but his capstone project was about raising awareness for and decreasing veteran suicide. He's a veteran himself, and that's a topic that's really close to his heart. So when he finished, he combined his history as a veteran with you know, this cause that's close to his heart, and he used his capstone to make a difference for others. And so that sort of stuff really tells you a lot about a person, and is just another way that it's so important for companies to see.
It's
And they're
incredible.
building real things. You know, they're told, solve a problem, come up with a problem and solve it. And we stand back and go, we'll be here, you know, kid gloves, but this is all up to you. So you know you're getting the real deal. This is not us helping them build it. This is them building it, them coming up with the idea, researching it, architecting it, building it, and really, you know, and it's such a short period of time, being able to show, I can do this stuff. Bring me on board. Imagine if you gave me 2 months to build something. Typically, they build them in 10 days.
Yeah, it's incredibly impressive. And thank you, Paul, as well. I was just about to ask if you had anything to add, so that was good timing. But also for the viewers and listeners, head over to our YouTube page. We upload capstone projects constantly, and you get to kind of see firsthand the talent that so many of our graduates have. It's incredibly impressive and something that is so far out of reach of my capability,
And
at
that's
least from
really
right now.
ultimately what people are hiring is talent.
Yeah, absolutely. People hire people, and if they're able to do it, they're able to do it. Paul, we're wrapping up here. I didn't want to end this without touching on the devCodeCamp talent portal. Can you briefly talk a little bit about what that is and where employers can kind of find it, and also the importance and the reason behind it?
Sure. So not only can you kind of find it, you can actually find it.
Even better. Great. No
It's
searching, just right to
it's
it, huh?
it's careers.devcodecamp.com/talent. So what we've done is we've partnered with a great company, Prentice. It will allow you to see all of their, you know, 10,000 foot view of their technical skills, their resume, connections to their LinkedIn, to their GitHub. Will give you a little bit more insight into you know, who they are. They get to upload their projects, their videos. And our goal was to be able to get beyond the resume and really just say, look, you know, this is the real person. And here's what they've done. Here's their resume. Here's their GitHub. Here's all this stuff, because all that stuff is really important. And we are uploading people all the time. And we want companies to be able to find a good, positive way to expedite the process. If I were a recruiter and I had to sift through 500 resumes and they all start looking the same, I'd go nuts. I would rather say, look, let's solve the problem and let's drill down and let me show you the real person.
Fantastic. Well, guys, that is it. I guess this is episode something of the podcast, but episode 2 of the career service is part of it. And thank you both for coming back and sharing your knowledge. Every single time that we're all together, it's a good time. And also I always leave feeling smarter than I did joining. So this definitely checks that box as well. So thank you both so much for your time. But more importantly, thank you for everything you do for these graduates and play such a big part into their next step of the journey. It means a lot.
Well, they put a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion into this. That's the least thing we can do, is help them navigate this really important part of the process.
Yes, what Paul means to say is we love our jobs. So thanks Carl, for a great podcast.
I
We'll
can't do
keep working
that.
on it. We'll work on it, Paul.
Well, that was fantastic, regardless of how rehearsed or unrehearsed that might have been. The ending. No, no, but seriously, thank you both so much. And also, if you're coming back for however many episodes, or if this is your first time listening and watching, thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time as well, and getting some insight into Paul and Lauren and what they do here at devCodeCamp. Once again, I said this at the start. You can find us on blog.devcodecamp.com, YouTube. All of our socials are devCodeCamp. We're very easy branding. You type us into anything that you use, and more than likely will pop up. So that definitely is the case for the devCodeCamp podcast as well. So we hope to see you in the next one. Once again, I'm Carl Peterson. Paul, Lauren, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everybody.